How's it going out there, folks? Welcome back here to the weekend. It is a Saturday out here. It is the Earthmaster, May 25th, 2024, about 10:37 p.m. here, California time. Latest activity on the earthquake 3D globe shows a 2.1 into the area of Alaska up here in the green flag. We'll get to the rest of the earthquake activity here in a little bit, covering the Italy region. They are still seeing some earthquake activity, but not necessarily around this volcano here, the Campi Flegrei region. Really not a whole lot of earthquake movement showing up here in the last 24 hours. In the last 2 weeks, obviously, we did see some swarming up here off the coast of the Nepal's region. The latest update here that was put out on the 23rd a couple days ago just kind of states that the earthquake activity has been somewhat diminishing there in that area. Of course, this region of Italy and that volcano complex out there sees a lot of swarming on occasion. There's things that come up and the land that goes up and land goes down and swarms come and go. Right now, nothing big going on here at all in terms of any major elevated activity. I mean, we've seen this in the past. We've seen it decades ago. Really nothing as of right now that tells me that things are going to get worse in this area. But we'll continue to keep an eye on it. The earthquake activity around the rest of the globe, and by the way, we'll check out the severe weather that's forecasted out here in the southern plains at the end of this update video. So if you want, go ahead and skip there if you're after the weather, because it's a big day out there. Earthquake activity starting off here on the west coast. As you can see, a little spotty out here. If we pull up the 2.5 map and above, well, that removes all of the earthquakes out here in California. So generally, very small, light microquake activity here along the west coast today. Some minimal movement up through Idaho as well. Same for Texas, Oklahoma, and around the Appalachian Mountains here. We did see a little 2.4 late last night coming in here. Quick glance at Yellowstone National Park overview. This is just going to be the seismograph stations here if they're working this morning, which they are. Ignore this. This is just a malfunctional seismograph station there. Yes, it can happen even on the digital side of things. And as far as earthquake activity goes, maybe a handful of very small spikes, but that's about it. Really not seeing anything major. No swarming, no major doom and gloom on the Yellowstone side of things today. Over here across the western Pacific, handful of smaller quakes overnight. Did have a 5-pointer up here at the very extreme northern edge of the Kuril-Kamchatka Trench, right here in this bend area where it meets the Aleutian Trench. That earthquake coming in about 32 kilometers deep, about 1 o'clock this morning. Since then, a little bit of adjustment going on here across the Japan area, so we'll continue to watch the western regions here, northwestern region of the Pacific Plate for some movement. Things look like they're wanting to move up there across the Japan area. A lot of activity on this side of the map from yesterday. Overnight, we did see a couple more deep earthquakes here into the Tonga area with that 4.4, 556 kilometers deep. So we're getting a trail of deep earthquakes again. The adjustment looks like it's wanting to take place here across the plate boundary further to the west at the surface levels, with the latest being a 4.6 here, fairly shallow at about 10 kilometers. So we'll continue to keep an eye on the active Pacific here, Pacific Plate, at least on the western side of the plate boundary. Over here across the states, pretty quiet in terms of anything of noteworthy value. The Hawaii area still seeing some movement around the Kilauea volcano and the East Rift Zone out here. The latest one underneath this area, a 2.1. Now we're getting some earthquakes here towards the Loihi Seamount just offshore. The majority of these little quakes, though, fairly consistent on the depth there, about 13. Well, actually, that one's a little deeper here, 33 kilometers underneath the Pahala area. Let me go check out the Yellowstone overview here, or the Hawaii overview real quick here. Kilauea volcano, see what's going on here. Yellowstone, if we're having swarms and up and down on the inflation, then obviously that's something to watch, but that's not the case out there. Here in Hawaii, obviously it is. Check out seismograph stations here. These, looks like these got toned down in terms of their data being picked up. Let me pull up a different seismograph station here and see what's up. And there's really not a whole lot I'm seeing some of that earthquake activity, but really not a whole lot of swarming going on there for now across that area. A quick glance at the deformation data underneath the Kilauea volcano that tells us what's going on below the volcano in terms of magma intrusion and whatnot. And we're topping off here. It looks like we topped off just early this morning. We could continue to potentially go up, but more than likely we're going to follow that stair-stepping event here where we'll see things level off and then go back down for a little deflationary event, and then followed up here a few days later by some inflationary tilt there across the summit and eastern rift zone, if things follow how they should be. But we'll continue to watch that and see how things play out. Down across the New Zealand area, did see a little bit of activity stirring up around that volcano there, I believe in North Island. Looks like they had a little bit of earthquake activity down here as well. So let's go over here to the GeoNet servers and see what's going on. Hope everyone's enjoying their Saturday. Goodness, California out here. Fairly cloudy and drizzly. Kind of odd for this time of year, at least here in Northern California. Volcano, let me see if they got the news out here real quick, see if they've mentioned anything. This was put out yesterday in regards to the Wakari White Island volcano activity. It looks like things just had a little small explosive event there in terms of a little bit of ash cloud. Let me read this here real quick. The volcano as of right now remains at a 3, aviation color code at orange. Let's see. Footage from the volcano webcam shows ongoing minor volcanic eruptive activity at the White Island area. We are seeing intermittent, energetic ejections of steam and gas. This is the second day of confirmed activity, and therefore the volcanic alert level remains at 3, and the aviation color code at orange. There's no clear signs that eruptions will become more energetic, but this could occur with little to no warning should future eruptions become larger. Then obviously we could see disbursement of ash on shore. But yeah, it looks like a little bit of activity stirring up here across that region of the White Island area. Let me see what we got here for, well, it looks like it's nighttime out there. Early in the morning, 5:40 a.m. New Zealand time there across that area. And let's see. Kermadec Islands. Let's see if we can get one of these cameras to key up. Here's the information on the White Island eruption activity. Yeah, I really can't see nothing out there right now, so we'll have to check back a little bit later on today for a visual, see if anything's going on. But either way, we'll continue to watch it. I mean, these volcanoes can kind of come and go. A little bit of elevated activity out there, but really, I don't think anything of major concern. Drums. Really not a whole lot of earthquake activity showing up on these maps for the volcanic drums. Earthquake drums here, roughly about the same. Maybe an earthquake down South Island, New Zealand, it looks like. A couple other smaller quakes here a little bit further down the plate boundary, but aside from that, New Zealand's quiet. Looks quiet there in my book. When the seismograph stations are like that, yeah, that's a sign of quietness. All right, so let's see what else we got here across the globe. As far as any movement goes, here's some of the earthquake activity into the Mediterranean. Some of that near Italy, but it's not really occurring near that volcano. It's occurring off here along the plate boundary. Nothing to do with this volcano way over here across the Nepal's area. I checked that out a little bit earlier. Let's give a quick glance here at this region. And this activity right here. Yes, there was one earthquake, 2.7, showing up on the map today near the Campi Flegrei region, the volcano complex here. But most of the earthquake activity here in the past few days has been down here across this gulf and further to the east along this plate boundary here near Greece. That's what's been going on there for a few days. Somewhat active activity, but really, this is, see this on any given day. Further out into the Atlantic, it's a little close here. We did see some movement into the northern mid-Atlantic ridge here. I was watching this last night. That was a 5-pointer that came in. As far as any further earthquake activity up towards Iceland, I'm not seeing it, but let's just double check, see if anything stirred up here across the Iceland area. Got about 76 earthquakes here in a little swarm ways away from the Grindavik area and our area of interest. This obviously many different volcanoes out here. Doesn't look like anything's changed here across this area. Just a little seismic swarm right now occurring fairly deep, about 4 or 5 kilometers or so underneath this area. But our area of interest right now around Grindavik shows pretty quiet conditions. Not a whole lot sparking up there and down there in that area for now. And the live from Iceland site, let's go ahead and check this out, see if we got any visual perspective. Man, that's not a time lapse, but that's just the wind blowing up there. Almost looks like a time lapse. But that is that's some very good low-level moisture there pulling in with some surface winds really kicking up. You can see the camera shaking out there as well. But as far as any eruptive activity goes, things are quiet at the surface levels, but that's not going to stay that way for long as we are quite inflated underneath this region. By the way, this site, livefromiceland.is, is the site to check out for many, many different views of the beautiful Iceland countryside and whatnot. So go check it out if you have a chance. All right, as far as space weather activity goes, well, we are watching this sunspot here, 3691, the newest one to come around the northeastern limb. Now, this is that sunspot I had been chatting about when it was on the far side of the sun. Even though it's quite ginormous, quite big, the complexity here within the center portion of the core is not all that complex in terms of magnetically unstable polarities here. So I think maybe we may see some C flare activity from this, maybe a low-grade M flare, but right now it doesn't look quite as dynamic as I was hoping it would. Obviously, you can't really tell when it comes or when it's on the far side of the sun, but we'll continue to watch that as it is, traveling in the Earth-directed view of the sun now. And this is going to be, let me make sure I got the most recent imagery here. Yeah, this is it right here. Here's that sunspot that I just mentioned. Again, not super complex. 3664, the culprit of the recent X-flare activity and CME activity and the Aurora event, is over here on the far side of the sun. We'll get a better glimpse of that here in the coming days. Now, I don't know if that one's complex either. When it comes around the bend, we'll get a little bit better look at it. A lot of times these sunspots, they look ginormous on the far side of the sun, which is in this image here and this image, but it's hard to tell the complexity, and that's what we're after. We'll get a better look at 3664, the former sunspot, once it comes back around the bend. Here, a helicopter out here. So, what do we got to deal with right now in terms of any major solar flaring? Doesn't look like it, but we do have a stand by for a second here. We got 0 kbs. That means that the stream has tried to end. Does look like it has ended. Now it's coming back. Probably lost the stream though, I'm guessing, for it being down that long. Let's see here. No, we didn't. Okay, it's still up. I don't know if you guys seen that or not, but lost the stream or lost the KBs there for a few seconds. That helicopter was flying over. That's just a little weird. But looks like we're back right now. All right. Never fails. I mean, just very odd. All right, as far as any flaring goes for right now, 99% chance for C flare, M flare at 60, X flare around 10% chance or so. And we'll keep an eye on 3691. Like I said, it doesn't look all that complex, but it could produce a maybe a low-grade M flare. So the rest of these sunspots here fairly quiet, and we'll get a better perspective of former sunspot 3664. I believe that was the name of it here in the coming days. All right, Storm Prediction Center. There is a pretty significant severe weather threat out here today, folks. Nothing to take lightly. There is a moderate risk. That's just one category shy of the highest risk that the Storm Prediction Center issues out here. So we got a huge tornado threat across this area. It doesn't matter if you're in the hatched area or the 2% zone. You got to be weather aware today. The dynamics are set up to produce a potential tornado outbreak. Some serious wording going on here from the Storm Prediction Center. An outbreak of severe thunderstorms is possible from late afternoon into tonight over parts of the central and southern plains. A few long-lived supercells capable of intense tornadoes may occur. Giant hail and destructive wind gusts are also expected. We're talking about hail. Yesterday they mentioned over 4 inches. That is crazy. To have something that big falling out of the sky. Very dangerous. And then you got the tornado potential, which exists out here, and that's quite elevated. So got to stay weather aware. We're looking at population density, at least in the significant severe area. That's going to be the hatched region, about 5 million people. That's pretty significant area population right here. Oklahoma City, Tulsa, Wichita. These areas, even into northern Texas, getting some as well, Wichita Falls and whatnot. Got to stay weather aware. These tornadoes are no joke. We've seen it recently on the news, social media, all over the place. A lot of damaging tornadoes here recently. So while you're at home today, things haven't started firing up yet, but they will late afternoon and into the overnight hours. Just got to have a plan. Maybe have your phone on the radar, watching what's going on around you. Keep your local news on so you can keep track of the storms. A lot of people get complacent, but you don't need some guy from California telling you to watch the weather out there in the southern plains, right? Because you guys probably lived with it for many, many years for the folks that live out here. I've been out there myself and seen it, and it can be pretty crazy. So just stay weather aware and keep your family notified on what to do when there's a tornado warning or if severe weather starts getting pretty crazy in your area. Look at that hail threat out there. That is huge. More than, it looks like at least a 45% chance of some significant hail out here across portions, mainly into south central Kansas area right here. Northern Oklahoma included as well, it looks like. But goodness, that's some big time stuff. I was checking out the weather models here. This is the composite reflectivity. Now, this is about what time these storms are going to start firing up here at, let's see, 0, 1. So this is going to be around 7 o'clock or so. Late afternoon or so is when they're going to start firing up, getting these storms going. And then it's only going to ramp up from there overnight into some of the early evening hours. So got to watch this, folks. This could be some big-time stuff out here with the potential spin-ups here of tornadoes. And the forecast is pretty serious. Let me go over here to the numerical models here. Is this what I want? This will work. I'm going to go over here to the regions and double-check this. Many people follow the NAM. Many people follow the HRRR model. I just like to look at some of these weather models to see what the forecast may have in mind in terms of firing up later this afternoon. So about 6 o'clock or so, 7. There's hard to say if this is going to turn into some type of squall line. Normally it does overnight. But it's a serious deal here, folks, and these storms do look likely that they're going to turn into supercells, and of course, with any supercell, you get that major severe weather threat. So stay safe. I'll be kind of watching it here on the side. Keep your weather radio on. I use radar scope, and I have it here on my computer as well. But I like to use it on my phone. It comes in handy in terms of where you're at in proximity to the severe weather. It shows you the tornado warnings when they're around you, but it doesn't alert you. Now, for that, for the radar scope, you need to be watching the radar all the time and seeing where the storms are going. But for an alert, like a notification from a weather app, I like to use the Weather Underground app, and that pops up alerts and notifications to your phone that there's a severe thunderstorm warning in your area and whatnot. So that one's free as well, the Weather Underground app. Either way, have some sign of or some type of app, TV, radio, local radio station that can advise you of what's going on today. So I don't see any severe thunderstorm watches or warnings yet, but I'm sure they will fire up later in the afternoon. All right, folks, I am out of here. It's a cold day. I kind of wanted to turn on the heater. We're only 59 degrees here at 11 o'clock in the morning. I don't think we're going to get much warmer than that. We got drizzly. We got drizzly conditions out here. That's kind of making me a little drowsy. I feel like going back to bed. Let me bring up the windy map here and see what we got. Where's this satellite view? Satellite. And it doesn't look like much here, right? These clouds that are in the valley are actually low marine layer clouds, and we're getting a lot of moisture here from the San Francisco Bay, funneling up into the valley and creating these drizzly conditions here. May not look like much on the radar, but man, we got some drizzly conditions and kind of cold. 61. I don't have that. I got 59 here, so this is being a little bit moderate here in terms of the temperature. Either way, looks like it's going to remain a nice cool day out here in California. Heat, feeling these storms out here in the southern plains today. It's going to be obviously it's going to be warm, but there's so much moisture involved here. There's the potential exists today, folks. It's just like one of the worst possible days out here for severe weather because everything's just lining up with all the moisture, the heat, and the boundary that's going to take place out here a little bit later on this afternoon. So stay weather aware, folks. I don't want to see any, there's ultimately going to be some damages, but the main thing is loss of life. We need to protect the people, prevent loss of life, and make sure everyone is safe out there. If you do have storms firing up later this afternoon in your area, please stay weather aware. Keep your eye on the sky. You can pretty much see when these tornadoes start to form. Obviously, you get that rotation, and that's, if you don't get a tornado warning and you see that rotation in your area, I would head indoors and into a storm shelter ASAP anyway, regardless if there's a tornado warning or not, because a lot of times these tornado warnings get in kind of late after the fact. All right, I'm out of here. Have yourself a good day. I'll continue to watch things out here on the earthquake and space weather side of things. Seismograph stations out here look pretty calm, pretty clear for right now. We'll catch you guys back out here later on this afternoon. Stay safe, folks.